What's up, guys and gals? Iceman here. Welcome to Chilling Tales. Appreciate y'all for coming by. Like this video if you will, subscribe to the page, and paw the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And blessings to my patrons. Links in the description below. Thank you to all my supporters. So this one happened abruptly, and the problem is it's actually not far from where I live. This bear attack took place in my home state of Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula, the Porcupine Mountains. And what's crazy is my lady and I intend to visit there sometime this year, and if we do, I'll definitely be posting some footage of it on my Patreon page and on this channel as channel member only content. Just of my adventure, just of my findings. We're going to go look for bear tracks. We're going to visit the lodge. We're going to talk to the rangers. It's going to be a spiritual journey. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. But I remember the Porcupine Mountains. Last time I was there, I was just a little duck-billed platypus. They would warn us of the bears, the black bears, who can be extremely deadly. Massive, bacteria-ridden yellow claws, big, sharp, pointy fangs, eyes that glow in the night, stronger than any man. These creatures are ferocious. So Morgan was a beautiful young woman, inside and out. She worked for a mail delivery service. The girl had this long, blondish brown hair, very smooth skin, nice, big, beady eyes, hazel irises. One to be remembered. And what the bear did to her that day was treacherous. So there was something up with the girl, all right? To put it lightly, she had some issues. Or maybe in modern times we don't call those things issues. I don't know. Can someone let me know in the comments below? The chick was bipolar. So with that being said, as the tendency tends to go, she had a lot of relationships throughout her life. One after another, ending abruptly, painfully, breaking on through, then up to the next. So she was in her late 20s when this happened. And this guy that she met, by the name of Ryan, in my opinion, was a real piece of shit. Now, I know, Iceman, why does your opinion matter? Well, you're here, aren't you? You're listening to the video. For the most part, I'm giving you guys the facts, all right? But there are some interjections. And this Ryan guy was on tether. He was an addict, to say the least. He was in his early 30s. He wore this cap, you know, those bills, those bad boy caps. And he had this pet tattoo on his neck. But I mean, I don't know. The guy, he just was sort of a scumbag. And it doesn't mean to say that all those things just make you a scumbag. I'm just trying to give you guys a good visual of who he was. Nice, rigid jawline. This guy, I mean, he had a nice face to him. Big veiny arms, you know, muscles just bulging out. He barely even worked out, but I mean, he had big veiny arms. Guy did a lot of factory work. So he hit up Morgan, and they decided to embark on a trip to the Porcupine Mountains. And that night, they saw it. Before the attack occurred. That dreary night, they had a little fire going. They saw what seemed to be a shadowy phantom of the night vanish in the midst. I believe it was a black bear that they saw before the attack. In fact, it might have been the perpetrator. This bear was standing about 60, 70 feet away from the entrance of their tent, just looking in there, just peering on through their souls. It was interested, its head low, swaying in the night, its red eyes glowing, steam just coming up from its mouth like a dragon. And as soon as they noticed the shadowy figure, it was gone. So, I mean, before this took place, they go to the Porcupine Mountains. They're dressed in adequate attire. Ryan has a little shank, little pocket knife, but he just always carries one. I mean, he's a thug. It's not really for the bears. I don't think they had any concern for the bears. In fact, Morgan loved animals. I mean, so do I. But she was an animal enthusiast. She went through many pets throughout her life. I mean, often, I guess, they'd have disagreements, her and the animals, and she'd get rid of them one way or another, but she'd accumulate them. And early on, upon attaining them, there was generally a good relationship, but it would always get shaky, just like the relationship with her human counterparts. But she loved animals. Okay? So they go walking out there. They hear the birds. They hear the squirrels. They hear all the animals of the day. Little chipmunks, they go along the ridge. They look down, they see the beautiful waterfalls. They see Lake of the Clouds. You guys ever seen that? Just a beautiful place to visit. The Porcupine Mountains. They get into the car, they go to the visitor center, this, that, and the third, and then they start going way down the highway that kind of follows along the great wilderness, the Porcupine Mountains. And they decide to park their car on the side of the road and just go out into the weed. It wasn't like a traditional campground, right? These folks just parked at the side of the damn road and walked out into the thicket and decided to put up their camp. Now, they weren't avid campers. I mean, they were very lightly packed. I'm pretty sure they were only planning on staying the night, taking off in the morning. Morgan wasn't very well dressed for the occasion. Ryan just wearing his long shorts, his little short sleeve affliction shirt, his little cap, a little chain hanging from his neck, a little shank in his pocket, but that was about it. So they set up their little tent, and the night sets in. And of course, Ryan has his way with her, right? They start boinking. And as that episode begins to dissipate, Ryan goes out to smoke a cigarette. Morgan's just sort of sprawled out in the tent. You know, it's really steamy and hot in there. So he leaves the little door. He unzips the tent and walks out. Damn. And then looks around. Then he just sort of starts, I don't know, imagining the next chick he's going to hit up, I'm sure. But he takes a couple puffs from his cigarette. Damn. And looks around. That's when he sees something. He sees that figure that I alluded to earlier, just standing there. And almost a sense of urgency comes about Ryan. And in addition to that, a physical sense, an aroma of rotting flesh and piss. He figured it was a dead animal, and he just caught bad wind of it. But he takes another hit of the cigarette. Just kind of looks out there. What the hell? And he goes back into the tent. kind of lays on top of Morgan, zips up the tent, and they start fading into their sleep. And that's when the tragedy occurred. So it was sometime between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., about an hour after the whole cigarette episode. They see something come up to the tent. They see this sort of silhouette cast upon it from the moonlight. There's this creature just sort of, and then it walks by it. They're very quiet. Remember I talked about this in my previous episodes, my trip to Canada. Stayed out in a little cabin with my lady and her dog, German Shepherd, female, beautiful dog. There was this black bear that walked along the porch of the cabin. And it really was like a ghost almost. It was crazy. But you could feel its footsteps, right? Going across the porch that was connected to the side of the cabin. And our bed was right up against that wall with a big window. All right? So all of a sudden we just see this figure just pass by. It was just right through the wall. It was just so close. I've never seen my dog so terrified, so startled, but she held her ground. She stood up on the bed, her hair just sticking up. It's going up. It was like all or nothing for her. It was crazy. And it was gone. Just how methodically the creature moved. And you could feel its doo. You could it was like a dinosaur outside the cabin, this heavy bear. But it just like this, just panned across the window. Just so steadily. It was amazing. But that's how these things can move. So their feet are very padded. So they're very stealthy when they walk. And that's what happened outside this tent. They see this figure just sort of just brush by the tent. They're like, oh my God. And then it came back. And Morgan started waking up. She's like, what was that? Like, Ryan, what was that? And they see it come up to the tent like this. And its body, its silhouette just begins to blot out the moonlight. And that's when it started tearing at the door. Ryan was like, get out of here, get out of here, what the bird? You know, he was swearing. You know, he was worked up. Who could blame him? And then it stopped and it backed up. And there was this massive gash in the tent door. And it was like there was a light wind in the night. It was like flapping open. Boom, boom, boom. And exposing them to the bear. So their human smells would sort of go out there and emit it into the bear's nostrils. So the bear's outside the tent just taking this in. And it knows there's something meaty, something fleshy. It could probably smell the oils, the fluids that were expressed during the little episode Morgan and Ryan had in the tent hours previous to this encounter. Fluids from the deep innards, fluids from the nether. And I'm sure that this enthralled the beast. Like it knew it was something it could maybe eat. And then I backed up and vanished into the night again. But hey, this little flap just kept blowing in the wind, right? And Morgan's like, oh my God, what did that? Oh my God, did I do something? They're just terrified, right? Like they're like, holy shit, this thing ripped a massive hole in the tent. And they weren't for sure if it was like a human or something, like a big hunting knife just screwing with them. But Ryan began to speculate. And then, of course, the creature comes up, and so they're very quiet. He's like, oh, shit. He was like, just shut up. Just stay back. And they sort of pushed themselves out. It was a very small tent. Like, their legs were already against where the door was. And then the animal returns. And the bear goes up and it sticks its long snout through the little hole in the tent. And they can see this long snout just sticking through that gaping opening that it just made with its claws. And it smells. And then Ryan's like, oh my God. And what he does is he gets his foot up there like this. And he's like, I get on, and he kicks it. And the bear, and it grunts like a pig. And it backs up. Boom, boom, boom. And then there it is, just flapping again in the wind, just the opening of the tent. But this time it knows that it's into something interesting. I think that this was an indicator. He kicked it on the damn snout, and it was like, oh my God. So this thing is going to fight back a little bit, but it must be guarding something. You see what I'm saying? I think that if they were standing up and if it were daytime, if the bear would perceive that they were humans, my speculation is it probably would have just ventured back off into the woods. This probably would have never happened. I mean, they could have just stood up and screamed and shouted, but they didn't. They hid. Why do people keep making this mistake? I see this again and again. If a fucking bear is going to be outside my tent, I'm not going to hide. You got to shout it. You got to show it. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. You got to get your knife out, get your spray out, get your pans out. Bing, 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 bing. Get the hell out of here, man. You don't just hide and try to be quiet and then just sort of kick it a little bit, hoping it'll go away. No, that's cowardice. You just kick it like that. Give a little, what do you call it when you, it's a sucker kick right in the nose and hiding. Come on, man. Obviously, you're just going to piss the damn thing off. And it still doesn't know if you're a human or not. It's going to come in there. And by that time, it's going to be too late. And I fear that's what happened here. It was too late. So Ryan kicks the damn thing in the snout, it backs up, da-da-da. It comes back again. And this time, the little flap in the tent is even bigger because it pulls out of there and it tears it more, ripping its head out of the damn tent. So it's a massive flap now. And the girl, Morgan, is just laying there, her bare legs exposed. She has nothing but this little nightie on, little heel on. I don't know why the hell she was wearing. She was wearing shoes during this time. She was in the damn tent. I think it was a fetish that Ryan had. But she had these little heels on, right? And her little legs are right here by the end of the tent. So, of course, what happens is the bear reaches in there with its massive paw and it grabs her ankle and it drags her out by her skinny little leg, and just puts its teeth around her ankle and just pulls her out of the damn tent. She gets ripped out of the tent, out of her boyfriend's arms. You hear, help! And then he tries to grab, but it rips him right out of her hands. Rips her right out of his hands. And this bear, oh, damn. It drags her about 10 foot out the door and drops her. She's fighting, she's fighting and kicking. And it drops her. It's like, what the hell did I just do? And it looks around. And it looks at this girl, but then there's blood all over her ankle. And it smells the blood. This was a mistake. This should have never happened. That's why you don't just cower back in and act like a pussy. All right? Because that's what this guy did. Maybe that's part of why I don't like him. I don't know. Yeah, he's a bad boy. Yeah, he's a thug. But you know what? He could have maybe done some good in this world. He wasn't such a coward. And if he applied himself a bit, understand animals, understand bears, watch these videos, watch my videos, like the videos, become a patron. I mean, he could have done all those things, in which case he would have had a better understanding of these animals and how to react to them. And if he did such, they might both be alive to tell about it today. to help others. So ripped her out of the damn tent. It's startled by what the hell's going on. Ryan's in the tent, just eyes the size of saucers, terrified. His little bill flaps off his head. When he sticks his head through the tent, a little bill pops off, and he's just looking out there. And he doesn't know what to do. He sees this bear standing there looking back into the tent with Morgan on the ground next to it, bleeding at her skinny little ankle. And his heart almost stops. What's crazy is the bear started to retreat. This is often what happens. You got to watch my videos. I have a backlog. Check them out. We're going to get a further understanding of how these animals act. It's often the case where they don't like to attack when there's two people. All right. So now that it ripped out of the damn tent, and then the other guy pops his head out. The bear knows there's two people. I didn't know that before. All it knew was there's a little hole in this sort of human-made den, and there was this aroma coming out of it, you know? And then it saw a little ankle, a little heel on the foot or whatever, and it rips it out of the damn tent. It didn't realize these were humans necessarily. But that's what it came down to. Things are cautious. So it started to retreat. And that's when Ryan comes out, dumbass. He runs out there, exposed his little boxer shorts, right? Little cap where he fell off, got a little chain around his neck still. Oh my God, and he runs at Morgan and grabs her. That's when the bear turns around. Because now, even though the bear, by choice, decided to leave the victim behind, it just didn't think it was worth it anymore because there's another person here and you just never really know. It doesn't want to risk an injury to itself, even though it could easily take them both out if it wanted to. They're just good at risk assessment. But now it's personal. You see, that's what happened here. It's personal when you go and try to take the damn meal, even if it left behind the meal. He should have let it walk away. It turns around and it charges him when he tries to pick up his mangled little girlfriend. It tackles Ryan to the ground. And you could just see this heaping thing. It was as tall as he was when it stood up and just grabbed him and tackled him to the ground and started just ripping into him. And he's sitting there fighting with his arms, just fighting with his arms, and it pulls his arms to the side and just scathes across his face. What a shame. Morgan's magging on the ground, just looking over at him. She doesn't have, her injuries aren't that bad. Bloodied up ankle. That's about, her makeup's a little messed up, but I mean, that's about it. And now her boyfriend is 3 feet away from her getting mauled. I mean, the bear is just stomping the hell out of his body into the dirt. It rips a damn hole through his abdomen into the ground. He's just getting mangled alive by this monstrosity of a creature. His girlfriend moaning and screaming. And it's on top of him. It grabs him like a pit bull and thrashes him around, slams him into the ground. Just husky bear. These big, long, bacteria-ridden teeth just gapping into his shoulder. Wow, what an atrocity. And while it's on top of him, it flips him over to his back. Boom! And it starts digging into his spine, just pulling his muscles apart. And it wraps his jaws around his neck and just crack, 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 and crunch. Just snapping the bones of his neck like a dog with a chicken bone. His body at this point is immobile. And Morgan, perplexed, oh my God, is just sitting there watching this all happen. And then she jumps on the bear and she tries to use her little fingernails to rip at its neck. And that's when it turns around and just boom, with one hit, one swipe, just across her neck. Boom! It just almost cracks her fucking head off. And then she goes flying into the dirt. her neck is nearly snapped. And then it returns to Ryan and begins dragging him out into the woods. Just dragging him out into the woods. And then Morgan is on the ground. Her neck almost freaking snapped apart. She stands up. Her neck's so fucked up. She's like, oh! Oh! And then she sees this happening to her boyfriend. And she's like, stop! It was like she was obsessed with this guy. But I think that was her tendency. This guy was new to her. They're only together for about a month, you see? And she was obsessed with him in that month. But then after a couple months, if they were to be like Romeo and Juliet, only the opposite, say that Romeo and Juliet were to get an apartment together and just, that's life. Bitch would probably leave him, you know? It's all about the psychological thrill, you see what I'm saying? That what I can't have. And I think that's applicable to this situation. That's why this girl's so obsessed with this guy. He's a bad boy. He's a new guy. Yeah, he doesn't have a job. Yeah, he has tether. But he's a bad boy. He's a tough guy. He's actually confident. Yeah, he lives with his parents. It doesn't matter. He's confident. So I love him, and I'm obsessed with him. He has tattoo on his neck. He has veins sticking out. He's good in the sack. You see what I'm saying? All these things, I think, manipulated her to an extent, her emotions. And this is where things go. So she she could have survived. At this point, the guy is destroyed. His spine snapped. He's probably paralyzed. His guts are hanging out of him. You know, yeah, he's still moaning a little bit. He's going to be dead in a matter of minutes. And the girl still throws herself at him. And that's when she becomes a goner too. The bear turns around, right? It had mercy on her when it slapped her off of it. So it can continue eating her boyfriend alive. But no, that wasn't enough. Morgan's going to jump on the damn thing again, this time with her neck all screwed up. And the bear, I've seen this happen so many times. I've heard of this happening. And I've told it on this channel. Sometimes the damn thing just wants to retreat with its meal. All right? But obviously, between it, I've seen this. The first time, it's a warning. They'll slap you out of the way and they'll start dragging the damn meal away. The second time, they're going to make sure you're neutralized. And then they're going to take the damn meal. So they're going to get the damn meal anyway. So she jumps on its back. It whips her off it again. It slams her to the ground. It starts digging into her. It mauls the hell out of her. It cracks her neck. It tears into her face. It starts eating part of her breast and part of her abdomen. And then the thing drags her out, makes a little catch where it's like, okay, I'm done with you. I'm going to bury your ass 20 feet from the tent. And then I'm going to take your boyfriend out to the woods and I'm going to eat him. And then maybe I'll return to you later, little princess. You know, I mean, I'm just saying the thought pattern, the subconscious thought pattern of these animals. I mean, I've done a lot of research on these things, all right? I've studied a lot of bear attacks. So, I mean, I think that I have a relatively keen understanding of their psychology. What makes these animals tick. But I mean, that's basically the outcome here. He ate him alive. He buried her. Days go by. Little cars at the side of the road. Starts getting investigated. They start noticing a trail. They go follow the trail. They find this tent all ripped up at the door. They find 2 bodies outside. The bear returned back to the tent, dug through the little cooler after it decided it didn't want to eat the humans fully. That's often the story here. They don't like the taste of humans. They'll partly eat them. They'll bury them. They'll piss and shit out of them. Then they'll return back to the tent and try to eat the little granola bars or whatever the hell they had in the cooler. Drink the Mount Stranger drinks, you know? But that's that. What a horrible outcome. But yeah, I'm in Michigan. I'm going to be visiting the Porcupine Mountains soon, so stay tuned to this channel. And I mean, what are your thoughts? What could have been done differently in this scenario? Was Ryan a good choice? Should they have ventured out with any protection? Let me know in the comments below. Become a patron to support these videos. And I'll see you all tomorrow with more chilling tales from the Iceman.